This video is supported by Wren, a website with a monthly subscription that helps fund projects to combat the climate crisis. You can click the link in the description to learn more about making a monthly contribution that supports projects like rainforest protection programs. Today we know that infectious diseases are caused by all kinds of things. Viruses, bacteria, fungi, there's a whole list. That germ theory of disease caught on during the 19th century, but it wasn't a smooth road. One thing standing in its way was the understanding of how infectious agents could spread from person to person. It was easier to just blame bad air. I mean, I don't blame them for doing that. That stuff is everywhere. Still, we got there in the end, and now we recognize that some of that very important work was done in Cuba in the late 19th century. In the 1880s, yellow fever killed thousands of people in Cuba. It's an awful disease, named for the jaundice experienced by the sickest patients. As their livers fail, a molecule called bilirubin builds up in their blood and makes their skin and the whites of their eyes turn yellow. These patients also experience severe bleeding, and mortality at that stage is about 50%. This only happens to a small fraction of patients, but it's not very nice. An epidemiologist named Carlos Juan Finlay initially blamed the disease on miasmas, a theory of infectious disease that was already on its way out at the time, and attributed their spread to bad, stinky air. But then Finlay noticed some things that didn't quite line up. Like the bleeding he saw in yellow fever victims looked like it was caused by damage to the cells lining their blood vessels. That wasn't the kind of damage people believed a noxious vapor could do. So this led Finlay to a hypothesis. Because yellow fever damaged the inside of blood vessels, he thought that whatever was causing the infection must be in the patient's blood. That meant the disease could only spread if an infected person's blood somehow ended up in an uninfected person. But it's not like someone was running around Cuba doing random blood transfusions on thousands of people. So there had to be something else transferring blood around. A small, buzzing, obnoxious something. Mosquitoes. Finlay noticed that the homes of yellow fever victims were often full of these insects, and yellow fever season and mosquito season also seemed to happen at the same time. To learn more, Finlay, well, honestly, he ran some experiments that we would recognize as super unethical today. Times have changed, and he did take some measures to protect his patients, which wasn't a universal practice back then, but it doesn't seem great when we look back. In 1881, he had mosquitoes bite a few yellow fever patients. Then he let the mosquitoes bite 5 healthy volunteers. And behold, one of the volunteers developed yellow fever 9 days later. Fortunately, he recovered. A couple months later, Finlay presented his findings to the Academy of Sciences in Havana, but his research didn't square with how people understood germ theory at the time. How could it be a mosquito and a germ? So it didn't catch on right away. But Finlay would not be discouraged, to the point where he spent the next 9 years having mosquitoes bite healthy volunteers. But this time his goal wasn't to prove mosquitoes carried the disease. Finlay believed that a single bite from a mosquito wouldn't be enough to make someone sick, but it might be enough to make them immune. We now know his ideas weren't quite right, but he did manage to hit on something that would work. Modern yellow fever vaccines do use a small dose of the live yellow fever virus to rile up your immune system. But vaccines use a weakened form of the virus, so they rarely have severe side effects. Meanwhile, Finlay's mosquitoes were rolling around with the real deal. So 7 of Finlay's 102 volunteers got full-on yellow fever immediately after the bite. And over the next 6 years, another 48 caught the disease. Still, 41 volunteers didn't get yellow fever at all during those 6 years of follow-up. So for as risky as his methods were, Finlay's partial success was enough to convince the local army research team that, hey, mosquitoes might actually transmit yellow fever, even if they weren't the best vaccination method. And after that, authorities in Havana implemented, well, martial law. This took place at a time when the US was occupying Cuba. Measures included water treatment and a fumigation campaign to control mosquitoes and eliminate yellow fever, and it worked beautifully. In less than a year, the disease had disappeared from Havana. Now, that probably wouldn't have been possible without the military controlling civilian life, so this isn't exactly a great universal model. Finlay paints an interesting picture of someone who initially believed in outdated science, but became convinced by the evidence. And his work no doubt helped advance our understanding of infectious disease in general, and also why mosquitoes are truly jerks. The eradication of yellow fever in Cuba was possible because people listened to science and worked together to make change. And that's what science policy is all about. Through initiatives like Carbon 180 and the Clean Air Task Force, Wren members are supporting policy groups that advocate for transparent carbon removal and technology to get our planet to zero emissions. Wren is a website that helps fund projects that combat the climate crisis through the support of people who care about our world and science policy. If that sounds like you can sign up to make a monthly contribution to these projects. You'll receive updates on their progress and get to see the good you're doing in the world. And since we at SciShow want to do good in the world, we've partnered with Ren to plant an additional 10 trees for the first 100 people who sign up using the referral link in the description down below. To start helping today, you can visit ren.co. Thank you for watching this SciShow video, and thanks to Ren for supporting it.